All right, welcome back for the Connor Apper Show. You're on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com, which is your home for Creighton basketball all season long. Speaking of, it has a new winningest coach of all time, and he joins us now on the 42 Degrees Source Hotline. It's Greg McDermott. Coach, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good morning, guys.
Good. I'm sure you're sick of talking about this already, but congratulations to you for going over the Dana Altman threshold last night with number 328. As you're watching the video, the tribute video, and I know you're trying to like fight back some tears. What are you thinking as you see those? I think 29 former players and pretty much all former coaches, all your former staff members, and your current ones. What are you sort of thinking as that one rolls up last night?
Well, I think gratitude. And then you understand why you've been successful. I've had a lot of really good coaches that have worked with me, and many have gone on to do great things as head coaches or assistant coaches at other places. And obviously as those former players pop up, there's some guys that won an awful lot of games when they were at Creighton, and there's a reason we won, and that's because we had good teams. So, just really grateful of the opportunity to be here for 15 years in this wonderful community and be a coach at a great place like Creighton.
I was thinking about this a little bit last night and this morning, and the video I think underscores it pretty well, right? It's a big family, and the program in a lot of different ways, is different from when you took it over. It feels maybe different from the outside, but it doesn't feel that much different maybe from the inside. What has allowed you and your program to sort of keep that same family feel over this stretch where Creighton basketball has become like a national brand?
Well, we've tried to be, pretty careful about who we recruit. I've given up on the fact that you can recruit selfish people and make them unselfish basketball players. So, we've attempted to recruit unselfish people to begin with, and then, they seem to thrive when you put them in a system of play, which is based on being unselfish and being a great teammate. And, I think that can take you a long way. So it's certainly not a perfect science, but, we've been fortunate to continue to bring the right people to our program that put the name on the front of the jersey first. And if that's the case, I always think you're going to have a chance.
So you said at your opening press conference that, you knew at the time that Omaha was a really good fit. And you knew it had a chance. And I'm sure you've been asked this a lot. Did you know it could be like this? Did you ever dream it could be like this 15 years later?
Probably not. No, the thought of, Creighton being in the Big East in 2010
right. Pretty crazy.
Was not even being discussed.
Yeah.
We were operating out of the old gym. And there was no talk really at that time of a new facility for us to practice and train. And now we have one of the best facilities in the country. So there's been a lot of changes that have been made that have allowed us to be successful. And, Bruce Rasmussen's vision at the time, when we decided to build the building that I'm sitting in, he was ahead of his time in that regard, where there was no plan to go to the Big East when we started to put together the fundraising and the drawings for this facility. And it changed the trajectory of our program, and it really allowed us, at the same time that our second year in the Big East was the first year we were in the practice facility, and it just came at the right time, for our facilities to really match the commitment that Creighton has made across the board to have a successful men's basketball program.
So much of this, Mac, is timing. I mean, I was just thinking about it a little bit. You talked about last night how you're sort of running from the posse at Iowa State, and they hadn't quite caught you yet. And Dana's had a successful program at Creighton before, and he leaves and goes to Oregon, and you get to take kind of that over. That's a great timing piece. And then obviously the time that at the time that Doug comes around and moving to the Big East, all of that stuff. There's a certain amount of luck that goes into all of this. You think about how fortunate sort of the timing has been at various times?
Yeah, absolutely. And really every step I've made, it takes a little luck and good fortune and right place at the right time. And it's what I tell, young coaches when I hire them as graduate assistant or as young assistants. Like, you can work your tail off in this business, and sometimes the timing just doesn't work out. And sometimes other guys that, have invested way less get an opportunity and a break, and then they, that it's up to them whether they can run with it. But, even when I got the Wayne State job, somebody else turned the job down, before it was offered to me. And if that person takes a job, who knows where my path is. And when I got the Northern Iowa job, it just happened to be Rick Hartzell was the athletic director there and was a Northern Iowa grad. Dr. Bob Koob was the president of Northern Iowa at the time, was a Northern Iowa grad. And the program was in shambles, and they felt like they needed someone that understood the institution and the challenges that go with that program at the time to come in and lead them as a head coach. So I was able to get an opportunity as a Division II coach because of a kind of a perfect storm there. So it takes some timing, it takes some good fortune, and I've been lucky that I was available and things worked out the way they did.
Mac, let's talk about this group a little bit. You threw 3 games, you had a couple exhibition, secret scrimmage, things like that as well. Have you learned anything, through this portion of the season so far about this group that you didn't know before? Or I'm thinking about the bullet points that you guys are trying to check in the early portion of the season.
Yeah, you learn something every game, and I don't care which team it is. I think at this time of the year, it's a constant learning and growing, and it's why you see, really some inconsistencies across the board in college basketball. Some scores that really are, head scratchers. Whether a team gets beat in a bye game at home, or it's a closer game than you think, or a team gives up too many points or doesn't score enough points. It's just the time of the year where teams aren't particularly consistent, and that's been the case with us. We've gotten better defensively from the first game to the third game, but our offense was better against Purdue and Iowa State than it's been in the 3 exhibition games. So that doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's also November, and that's just part of it. Guys getting a feel and a sense for where the shots are coming from and getting accustomed to the pace that we play with. That's a challenge in itself. And then, we've got a lot of guys that are either new to our program or new to the position that they're playing on the team this year, and the role's much different than it was a year ago, and it just takes some time to get adjusted to that. And it's why guys like Stephen Ashworth and Ryan Kalkbrenner are flourishing. They've been in those roles before, they understand them, and they're doing a great job helping the rest of the guys. But you're seeing Pop Isaacs get more comfortable with each passing game. Jemiah Neal's got a little better every game as he's gotten accustomed to what our expectations are and where things come from him in our offense.
I've asked you before about sort of like the difficulties or the challenges of having so many rotational options. It's a little bit different this year. The last couple of years, it's sort of, it's subbed themselves, right? Like you kind of knew what the plan was and what your options were rotation wise. What is it like this year, having that change and having like just a lot more options at your fingertips in terms of what you want to deploy at any given time?
Yeah, I mean it's challenging, and some of we've been helped, and I don't want this to continue, but Pop Isaacs was out of game, so that allowed us to play some other guys, and then Mason missed last night, so there's 18 minutes that you can spread out amongst some other guys and give them a look. So it's going to be a game by game thing, and as we go on and guys get thrown into situations that are a little more high level, we'll find out if they're ready for that. And if they're not, then we'll have to go a different direction. That's just the reality of the situation as you get farther into the season. But we have been able to play a lot of guys through these first 3 games in quality minutes and important minutes. So that's a lot of film to watch and a lot of opportunity for growth. By them watching that film of themselves out there. It's one thing to watch their practice film. It's another thing when the lights are on and you're playing somebody else.
What do you think this group can grow into on the defensive side?
Yeah, I mean, our speed's going to have to make up a little bit for our lack of length, and obviously our lack of length has hurt us on the backboards a little bit. Baylor, we got spoiled with him being, he led the defense or led the Big East in defensive reboundings, and Trey was a great positional rebounder for an off guard. And now we're just a little smaller and a little thinner there. So we have to do it with technique a little bit more. So I think those are going to be some things that we could be challenges all year long. And, we have to make sure that, the fact that we're faster, manifests itself in some other ways, both with our ability to recover defensively and our ability to play transition offense at even more pace than we were able to a year ago.
Mac, I'm just going to give you a stat, and I'd like you to react to it. Ryan Kalkbrenner is 35 of 38 from the field so far. Your thoughts?
Can you believe he's missed 3 shots? That's unbelievable. No, he's obviously, when a guy decides to come back and make the decision that Ryan did, you hope for the best. And, my message to him when he made that decision, or as we were talking through it, was similar to the conversation I had with Doug when he decided to come back, and Baylor when he decided to come back, and even Trey when he decided to come back for his junior year. Is like, hey, if you're going to do this, you have to clearly be a better version of yourself when you take the floor next year. That you have to put the work in so that you change parts of your game for the better. And in Baylor's case, in Doug's case, in Trey's case, they all did that. So far, obviously, I think it's pretty clear that Ryan's done the same.
So you want him to be efficient, obviously, and that's about as efficient as it gets. But what comes when he gets more volume and takes on more of the scoring load this year? We haven't quite seen that yet, but so far, 35 of 38, that's more volume, and the efficiency has stayed, if not gotten even better.
Yeah, the efficiency's off the charts, and teams are, and last night early in that game, they really plugged the lane and made it hard to get in there, get the ball in, and we missed some open 3-point shots to start the game. And if you hit a few of those, now they have to make a decision. You're going to keep giving up threes, or you're going to give him a few touches and then deal with it when he gets it. So, but as we wear into the game and the pace gets to where we want it, people wear out a little bit and those rotations become a little slower. So, we have to get him the basketball. Last night we turned it over a few times trying to get it to him. I'm hopeful that we'll get better at that as these games move forward.
All right, Mac. We'll let you go. Appreciate you taking the time as always. Congratulations, and we'll see you soon.
I appreciate it. Thanks much.
That is Greg McDermott, the winningest coach in Creighton men's basketball history, with 328 wins. And Ryan Kalkbrenner has 312 of them. No, that's not true.
Is he tall?
It's close, though.
Who knows?
Is he tall or good? Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Remember that debate last year?
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's good.
Trending
Thoughts?
that way.
5'1", 16, 20. Thoughts? He might be good. He's 35 of 38. And he's going to, he will take on the scoring load this year for them. Ashworth, we talked about it with Jacob, but his improvement so far this year has been really notable, and they needed him to do that. It just seems like, and that's a hallmark of Greg McDermott programs, right? They have guys who you're trying not to put too much pressure on them, but you also at the same time know what they need to do. You're asking,
be realistic,
you're
right?
asking them to do a lot, and pretty much universally, they've had guys over the years to answer the bell in whatever role that might be. Okay, Baylor, you got to come back last year and be a better version of yourself because we're a little bit thinner in the scoring category. Okay, and you got to be a rebounder for us. Okay,
I'm very tall. I can do that.
And another hallmark is they have old, experienced guys in the program.
Very old.
Yeah, Ashworth and Kalkbrenner are married. One as a child.
One's a grandfather.
Yeah, so I think that's a staple here, and there will be years where it doesn't quite match up that way. But for the last I guess since they made that surprise run to getting to the NCAA tournament and winning an NCAA tournament game the Hawkins year, I suppose. But even then, Hawkins is an old guy. That group was younger, and they really had to ask guys to do more that year. But it's kind of just lined up that way where they've had that. So development is still important. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back with Marty Cordero. Speaking of winning, Omaha loves winning.
That's all we do here is win.
That's what we do in the Big O.
I should write a song about that.
That's why the Rays aren't coming to town.